Buddha by Venerable Mahinda, published by Australian Buddhist Mission for Aloka Meditation Center, Buddhist Missionary Society Malaysia, Aloka Mitra Singapore. First published 31st August 2021. Venerable Mahinda. Venerable Mahinda was ordained in 1976 under the tutelage of the late Venerable Dr. K. Sri Dhammananda Nayakathera. He has taught mindfulness and metta meditation for 45 years in over 20 countries. Currently, Venerable Mahinda is the abbot of the Aloka Meditation Center in Australia, founder and spiritual director of Australian Buddhist Mission, General Advisor to the Buddhist Missionary Society Malaysia, and founder and spiritual director of Aloka Foundation Malaysia. He is advisor to a number of other Buddhist organizations in Malaysia, Singapore, and Australia. Preface. The aim of this series on the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is to highlight their great qualities and to draw inspiration for us to walk the Dhamma's path. When we are living in fear and danger, worry and anxiety, we need to seek refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. We need their blessings, guidance, and protection. Those who have faith and devotion to the Buddha will naturally find solace in times of need. Those who have developed insights into the Dhamma will have greater awareness and acceptance of the ups and downs of life. Those who connect with the Sangha will receive the necessary guidance and inspiration along the path. Many years ago, I heard my teacher saying, Abhinayam, Abhinatam, Bhaveta Bancha, Bhavitam, Pahatabam, Pahiname, Tasma Buddhosmi, Brahmana. These words kept resonating in my mind. As I made some effort to understand the meaning of these words, I realized the profoundness of the Buddha and his teachings. I wish to share this Dhamma with all our Dhamma brothers and sisters. What little I have learned is from my teacher and his teacher's teacher. I am indeed grateful for all their kindness, inspiration, and sacrifices. Their teachings are so relevant in these challenging times. I dedicate Volume 1 in this series to the memory of my teacher, the late Venerable Dr. K. Sri Dhammananda Nayakathera, on the occasion of the 15th anniversary since his passing away on 31st August 2006. May he attain to perfect enlightenment. Buddha. The word Buddha means to know, or to be awakened to the realities of life. It comes from the Sanskrit or Pali root Buddh, whose literal meaning is to wake up, but also to become aware or to understand. Buddha is a title given to someone who has woken up to the true nature of life and gone beyond the samsaric cycle of birth and death. There are Buddhas of the past, present, and future, and also of the 10 directions. The last historical Buddha was Gautama in Pali, or Gautama in Sanskrit, who was born at Lumbini in the kingdom of Kapilavastu as Prince Siddhartha Gautama in 623 BCE. He was born in a clan of people called the Sakyans, and thus he is also known as Sakyamuni, or sage of the Sakyan clan. The Buddha's journey. The Buddha's path from an ordinary being to an awakened one began many eons ago. As a merchant, he was traveling on a sea voyage with his blind mother. They met a huge storm and his mother fell overboard. He jumped into the water to save her, and upon saving her life, he realized that all sentient beings, like his own mother, are immersed in the ocean of suffering. Filled with compassion, he made the strong aspiration to gain enlightenment in order to relieve the suffering of all sentient beings. Thence began his journey as the Bodhisattva. Over countless lifetimes, he practiced to perfect the virtues, knowledge, and skills in order to become a fully enlightened being, with the ability to enlighten others. The Jataka tales relate how the Bodhisattva used different circumstances throughout his lives to develop his virtues and was eventually able to give up his kingdom, his own wife, children, and even his own life to perfect the 10 paramis, or perfections, of a fully enlightened Buddha. The 10 paramis: Dana, generosity; Sila, morality; Nikamma, renunciation; Panya, wisdom; Viriya, effort; Khanti, patience; Satya, truthfulness; Adhitthana, determination; Metta, loving kindness; Upekkha, equanimity. These 10 qualities enabled the Buddha to confront and overcome whatever challenges he met on his journey through samsara, seeking enlightenment from life to life for the benefit of all sentient beings. Birth. This culminated in his final birth in this era as Prince Siddhartha Gautama at Lumbini more than 2,500 years ago. The practice of these virtues yielded the merits for him to be born as a prince with all its luxuries, yet at the same time having the wisdom to see the fleeting nature of worldly pleasures, as well as the courage to leave such luxury behind to seek and eventually realize the truth. Although he was born as a human being just like us, the Buddha's birth was no ordinary birth. Prior to this birth, the Bodhisattva, who at that time was called Setaketu, was residing in Tusita heaven. He was able to choose the time, the country, and the locality of his birth, to decide who would be his mother and the clan where he would be born. Ordinary beings are not able to do such things. The Buddha's life too was no ordinary life. After 29 years of luxurious worldly life as a prince, he had the courage and the compassion to give up his kingdom, his family, and all the material comforts to seek the truth, to find a way to liberate himself and all other beings from suffering. Enlightenment. On the night of his enlightenment, under the Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya, he fully realized the knowledge that liberates beings from samsara and the path that leads beings to actually realize this knowledge. It was then that he became known as the Awakened One, or Buddha. Shortly after, he clearly explained to the 5 ecstatics at Sarnath the wisdom he had realized in form of the 4 Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. Through his wisdom, compassion, and skills, he taught all over India and beyond for the next 45 years in order to awaken beings so that they would realize the truth for themselves. More than 2,500 years later, his teachings have spread far beyond India and are revered by millions of Buddhists as well as non-Buddhists throughout the world. Passing away. His passing away, or Mahaparinibbana, was no ordinary death. We use the term Mahaparinibbana to illustrate that the Buddha did not die or pass away like ordinary human beings. The Buddha passed away at Kushinagar with perfect mindfulness and awareness. Having completely liberated himself from the ignorance that binds us to the samsaric cycle of birth and death, his passing away represents the dissolution of his physical body, but his enlightened mind had already gone beyond ordinary death and rebirth. The Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and passing away all coincided with a full moon day. Today, we celebrate these three events on the occasion of Vesak, usually falling on the full moon in the month of May. As we celebrate, we should recall that the Buddha's appearance in this world, his activities, and dispensation of the Dhamma represent the culmination of countless lifetimes of practice to perfect the virtues, knowledge, and skills necessary to become a fully enlightened being with the ability to enlighten others. He also demonstrated the full potential of a human life, that it is possible for each and every one of us to awaken to the truth about life and to free ourselves from all suffering. Therein lies the true significance of Vesak. Who was the Buddha? The Buddha was not just an ordinary human being. Although he was born as a human being, he transcended the life of an ordinary human. Simply upon meeting this great being, people were impressed by his physical appearance, bearing, and radiant complexion. This is illustrated in the three main encounters with Upaka the ascetic, Dona the Brahmin, and Brahmayu, an elderly Brahmin, where the Buddha himself declared who he was. Upaka. After the Buddha's enlightenment, he stayed near Bodh Gaya for 7 weeks. After this, he decided to head to Varanasi to meet the 5 ascetics who had attended to him earlier. The wandering ascetic named Upaka met the Buddha on his way to Varanasi soon after his enlightenment. As he was passing through the township of Gaya, seeing his clear and magnificent aura, Upaka remarked, "O friend, clear are your senses, pure and bright is your complexion. Who inspired your renunciation? Who is your teacher? Whose doctrine do you follow?" The Buddha replied, "The conqueror, omniscient am I. Nothing to cling on, everything release. I am freed from craving. Having comprehended all by myself, who can I call my teacher? I have no teacher. I have no equal. In this world of gods and men, I have no rival. For I am an arahant, an unsurpassed teacher. I am fully enlightened, cool, and at peace." Upaka was a follower of Nigantha Nataputta, the leader of the Jainas. That is why the Buddha used the term conqueror or Jina, which was used by the Jainas to refer to their saints. The Buddha gave the word Jina a new meaning. A conqueror means one who has conquered greed, hatred, and delusion, and the Buddha was such a conqueror. But Upaka held different views, so he merely replied, "It may be so, friend," and shaking his head, he walked away. The Buddha was unperturbed and continued on to Varanasi. However, this meeting with the Buddha actually did impress itself in Upaka's heart. After some years, Upaka met the Buddha again and was ordained. He took instructions and became an anagami, or non-returner. Upaka's wife, Chapa, who was the daughter of a hunter, also followed her husband in living the household life and became an arahant. Dona. On another occasion, the Buddha was walking along the highway between Ukatha, and Setava. The Brahmin donor noticed the footprints of the Buddha and saw something special about them. Each footprint had at its center a wheel with 1,000 spokes. So he decided to follow the footprints to their source. He saw the Buddha seated under a tree, cross-legged, calm, and serene. Donor was unable to tell what the Buddha sitting there was, and thus he approached the Buddha and asked him, "Will you be a Deva, a Gandhava, a Yaka, or a human?" The Buddha replied, "I am none of these things, Donor." Confused and a little annoyed, Donor then asked, "You said you are none of these things. Then what are you?" Donor, "I have cut off all the defilements that might lead to birth as a Deva, Gandhava, Yaka, or human." Then the Buddha continued, "Pundarikam yata vagu toyena nupalipati nupalipami lokena tasma buddhosmi brahmanati." Just like a lotus, born and grown in muddy water, but rising above and unstained by the mud, in the same way I, born and raised in the world, have overcome the world and live unstained by the world. Remember me, Brahmin, as the awakened one. Brahmayu. When Brahmayu, an elderly man of 120 years old, who was very learned in the Vedas and Sanskrit, met the Buddha, he inquired about the Mahapurisalakkhana, or the characteristics of a great being. He wanted to see these characteristics of the Buddha, even up to his private parts. With his psychic power, the Buddha showed them to Brahmayu. The Buddha then declared, "Yete vatimsati sutta mahapurisalakkhana sabete mama kayasmim mate kankahu brahmana abhinayam abhinatam bhavate bancha bhavitam pahata bam pahiname tasma buddhosmi brahmana." The 32 marks of a great man which you have heard of, they are all on my body. You should not doubt, O Brahmin. What should be known is known. What should be developed is developed. What should be destroyed is destroyed. Therefore, I am awakened, O Brahmin. From these three encounters, we see how the Buddha himself declared he was a fully enlightened, fully awakened being. The Buddha's perfect features. The Mahapurisalakkhana are physical features of the body of the Buddha. There are 32 major marks and 80 minor marks, as mentioned in the Lakkhana Sutta, including level feet, 1,000 spoke wheel symbol on the soles of the feet, long slender fingers, anhisa sisu, fleshy protuberance on the crown of the head, unya loma, hair in the middle of the forehead amidst light. These features are also present in the Chakravarti's king, a powerful monarch. But in the case of the Buddha, when he was born, his father, King Suddhodana, invited many sages to inspect the baby boy. All the sages but one said he would either be a great spiritual teacher or a Chakravarti king. But one sage, Kondanya, the youngest present, said he could only be a great spiritual teacher. This is because he noticed how the unya loma curled in an anti-clockwise direction. These perfect features were practically impossible to depict on an image or statue. So in early times, the Buddha was often depicted simply by his footprint. In Anuradhapura, workshops have been found where stone footprints of the Buddha were produced as a symbol of worship. However, in the 1st century before Christ, artists in the Gandhara region, heavily influenced by the Greco-Roman style, started to sculpt Buddha images in the style of youthful Greek gods like Apollo. So the images of the Buddha we see can differ due to cultural differences and the skill of the artists. The true body of the Buddha. So how do we see or realize who the Buddha really is? The answer was given to the monk named Vakali. The Buddha was then dwelling in Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. The monk Vakali was dwelling nearby. He was very ill and wanted to see the Buddha. So he asked one of his attendants to inform the Buddha. The Buddha consented, and upon his approach, Vakali tried to rise from his bed with great difficulty. The Buddha told him there was no need to do so, as there was already a seat nearby. So he sat down and inquired about Vakali's condition. Vakali informed the Buddha that he was not getting any better, and that he had wanted to see the Buddha for a long time, but could not manage to do so. The Buddha asked Vakali why he wanted to see this foul body. Then the Buddha preached to Vakali, Yo Dhammam pasati, somam pasati. He who sees the Dhamma sees me. That is how we too can see the Buddha, by practicing the Dhamma. The 9 qualities of the Buddha. There are 9 special qualities which illustrate how the Buddha is unique amongst all beings. These are recited as daily devotions in what is referred to as Buddhanusati or contemplation on the Buddha. Iti piso bhagava araham samma sambuddho. Such indeed is the blessed one, the worthy one, and perfectly enlightened one. Vijacharana sampano sugatuloka vidu, endowed with knowledge and virtue, well gone, knower of the worlds. Anuttara purisa dhamma sarti, an incomparable guide for individuals to be tamed. Satta deva manusanam, teacher of gods and men. Buddho Bhagavati, the enlightened one, the blessed one. Arham. The Buddha is an arahant, or worthy one. He is worthy of reverence and offerings because he has completely eradicated all the tendencies of greed, hatred, and delusion. He has thereby ended the cycle of birth and death, the cycle of samsara. Arham also means having no secrets. Having purified his mind to the fullest extent, he has nothing to hide. This is why he is most worthy of respect. Samma Sambuddha. Even more than an arahant, he is perfectly enlightened. He has attained complete liberation through his own efforts. The Buddha mentioned that Upaka, that he had no teacher, but we must understand that he was referring to how his realization of Nibbana was accomplished on his own. He actually did have meditation teachers such as Alarakalama and Udaka Ramaputta, who taught him to develop his mind to the 8th jhana. But during the 6 years while he was struggling for enlightenment, going through extreme ascetic practices, he made no further progress. Then the Buddha recalled his childhood when he had naturally entered meditative concentration under a rose apple tree. This gave him the inspiration to break through and eventually attain full enlightenment under the Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya. A Samma Sambuddha has also perfected all the 10 paramis, or perfections, and has the unique ability to fully understand each person's temperament and qualities, and to accordingly provide the most beneficial instructions for that person. In the sutta it says, "The appearance in this world of the Tathagata, worthy and perfectly enlightened, is very, very rare." Vijja Charana Sampana, fully endowed with knowledge and conduct. Here, knowledge refers to 3 kinds of supreme knowledge: perfect recollection of past events, clear vision of present and future events, and full understanding of the nature of life. There are 3 sources of knowledge or wisdom. In Pali, they are called Suttamaya Panya, Chintamaya Panya, Bhavanamaya Panya. The first, Suttamaya, is the knowledge we gain by listening to the experiences and instructions of others. The second, Chintamaya, refers to how we use our rational mind to reason things out for ourselves. However, neither of these 2 knowledges will lead you to be totally free from suffering. It is only the last, Bhavanamaya, which is knowledge gained through meditation, that will lead to one's final liberation. The Buddha's realization of truth is derived through this method, which is also called Vipassana Nanya. This truth is the truth of the nature of life, of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. Conduct is traditionally explained as the steps along the path that led him to Buddhahood and enabled him to bring benefit to all beings. These are morality, sense restraint, restraint in eating and sleeping, faith, shame and dread with regard to unwholesome actions, vast learning, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and insight. This quality can be summarized as the blessed ones. Possession of clear vision is the perfection of wisdom, while his possession of conduct is the perfection of great compassion. Through wisdom he knows what is good and bad for beings, and through compassion wards them away from harm and guides them towards good. Sugata. Sugata literally means well gone. He is well gone because both the path he took and the goal he reached, perfect enlightenment, are supreme. The Buddha also came to the world with a single goal, for the sake of enlightenment. He made effort, giving up all the pleasures in life in order to realize his goal, and pass away having completed it. In this way, his journey was perfect and well-traveled. Remember the paean of joy the Buddha uttered after his enlightenment. Anika jati samsaram, sandavisam anibisam, gana karkam gavesanto dukkha jati punna punnam, gaha karaka ditosi punna gehamna kahasi, sabba te pasuka baga gahakutam visankatam, visankara gatam chitam, tanhanam kayam ajagati. Through many a birth I wandered in this samsara, endless cycle of birth and death, seeking but not finding the builder of this house. Sorrowful is repeated birth. O house builder, you are seen. You shall build no house again. All your rafters are broken. Your rich pole is shattered. My mind has attained the unconditioned. Achieved is the end of craving. This is the highest of achievements, the final destination, the highest happiness from where there is no return to suffering in samsara. We should all set ourselves in the same direction. Lokavidu. The Buddha is knower of the worlds. Through the laboratory of his enlightened mind, the Buddha was able to understand the nature of the universe without referring to astronomy, geology, or any other science. He was able to describe the cosmos in terms of micro, medio, and macro cosmic systems. He knew the three realms of beings, the sensual realm, Kamaloka, which includes the realms of demigods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell realms. The realms of form, Rupaloka, of which there are 4 Brahma heavens, corresponding to the first 4 jhanas, and the formless realms, Arupaloka, also divided into 4 realms of beings without physical form, which correspond to the 5th to 8th jhanas. In comparison, our knowledge is very limited. Although we study all sorts of things, there are many things we cannot comprehend, and we do not even know the true nature of ourselves. Because of the clouded nature of our minds, the Buddha was also able to see how beings die and are reborn in various places and various forms according to the law of karma, cause and effect. He also saw that there is not a single being in any of the 31 planes of existence who is free from suffering, and he knows why they are suffering, due to the tendencies of greed, hatred, and delusion. In the Rohitassa Sutta, the Buddha explained, there is no end to suffering by knowing or reaching the end of the world. Instead, he encouraged people to look within themselves. The Buddha said, rather, it is in this fathom-long body, with its perceptions and its consciousness, that I make known the world, the arising of the world, the cessation of the world, and the way leading to the cessation of the world. In other words, the study of the world is the study of the self. Anuttara Purisa Dhamma Sarthi, an incomparable guide for individuals who can be tamed. The Buddha has the unique quality of being able to tame the minds of beings, making them suitable vessels to receive the Dhamma. This is because he is able to evaluate the 5 mental faculties that make up a person's mind: faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, and can prescribe the appropriate practice to each individual to develop these faculties in a balanced manner. Thus, the Buddha is the most effective trainer. He also trains beings to take birth in the realms of gods and humans, and where they can attain their liberation. The reason why the Buddha is incomparable is because only a Buddha can perfectly guide beings to liberation. He is also incomparable because he trains not only humans, but beings from all the 6 realms of existence, such as Nalagiri, the elephant, Alavaka, the demon, and many others. A good example of Lord Saka, king of the Devas of Tavatimsa heaven. Saka once came to pose some questions to the Buddha. Through the Buddha's answers, he gained faith and realized the truth, entering the first stage of sainthood. After some time passed, he passed away, and due to his merits and faith, he was again reborn as the present Saka, who is both a noble being and a Dhamma protector. Satta Deva Manusanam, teacher of gods and humans. The Buddha taught the Dhamma in all its aspects, both mundane and supramundane. To humans, the Buddha gave mundane teachings on how to fulfill our duties and prosper in this human birth, how to live in peace and harmony, and how to avoid evil and do good, leading to future rebirth in the human and Deva realms. He also gave supramundane teachings on how to purify the mind in order to attain final liberation. The Buddha also gave teachings to the Devas, such as on the occasion of the preaching of the Mangala Sutta, and when the Buddha went to Tavatimsa heaven to teach his mother who had been reborn there. There are many Devas who are disciples of the Buddha. Those beings who have done meritorious actions in this life but have not yet attained liberation are often born in Deva realms. Such Devas are also followers of the Buddha, some of whom are Dhamma protectors, guarding those who practice and live by the Dhamma. That is why we have the practice of sharing merits with them and requesting their blessings and protection. The significance of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. The Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha are known as the 3 jewels or triple gem because of their preciousness. They are the best and most reliable source of refuge. When we are ill, we will visit a doctor and take the medicine prescribed to cure our illness. In a similar light, in order to cure our suffering in samsara, we can look to the Buddha as the doctor, the Dhamma as the medicine, and the Sangha as one of who administers the medicine. The blessings, guidance, and protection of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha lead us to success, not only in our worldly pursuits, but also in the pursuit of our final liberation and enlightenment. We all have the same basic awareness as the Buddha, whether we believe it or not. The difference lies in its clarity. The Buddha's awareness is vast and crystal clear. Our awareness is clouded and tainted by greed, hatred, and delusion, along with all their ramifications or manifestations. As we continue to grow in faith and devotion to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and keep on doing good, avoiding evil, and purifying our minds, we will slowly remove the layers of cloud that have been obstructing and obscuring us, and eventually attain the awareness and clarity of the Buddha. Yo Dhammam Pasti, so mam pasti. He who sees the Dhamma sees me, the Buddha. Acknowledgements. The idea of producing this series on the Buddha Dhamma Sangha came about after the completion of the first stage of the 2021 Aloka online Dhamma course, which commenced with these three topics. I wish to acknowledge all the support and encouragement that I received from Sister Sumitra, who came up with the idea of conducting the Dhamma course and chaired the team of dedicated volunteers. My grateful thanks to the organizing committee, donors, and everyone who has assisted in one way or another to bring about this series of booklets. Venerable Mahinda.